Alrighty. So my name is Paola Suarez. I work for the Santa Monica Mountains Fund, and I'm going to be one of the co-hosts for today's career symposium.
Hi all, my name's Javier Salamo Garcia, he, him, él. I will also be a co-host for today's career symposium and also with Sound Mountain Mountains Fund.
Perfect. So today's symposium is really geared towards helping early career to youth, high schoolers, people that are trying to transition into the environmental field, just so that they have an idea about where to start, where even folks that are already in the field but maybe want to have a shift or something, just so that we can provide them some ideas, because I'm sure we have all been there where we're not really sure where to take our career next. We don't know what steps to take. We don't know what options are available for us. So we gathered some really, really cool presenters that will hopefully shed some light on their journey. And, something I want to highlight is that everybody's journey is extremely, extremely unique. We're here just to provide, guidance and share what we're doing, but everybody's journey will be different. But there's a lot of support here today. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to Tavi.
Cool. So we are here on behalf with SAMO Fund, which is the official partner of the National Park Service and specifically the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. It's always a mouthful and fun to say the whole word. But basically, SAMO Fund helps a lot in supporting National Park Service projects, endeavors, some of which are different restoration projects, trail maintenance, research, community outreach. SAMO Fund is a big help, and we're super thankful for their support and doing a bunch of all these amazing stuff all around the mountains.
And today we're actually here in honor of our Oxnard Young Ecologists group. So our OYA group is a group of high schoolers that are coming from Oxnard, and we bring them all over to the Santa Monica Mountains and share with them different careers, different things that we do at SAMO Fund. And this is actually a picture here we have where we went to CalBG to have a session with Dr. Fraga, who's the director of conservation there. And she just took us all over, gave us a tour of CalBG, let us know what they were doing. It was a really, really fun experience. So shout out to our OYA group. Oh, okay. There we go.
Cool. So to get us started, I will be introducing our first presenter, Diego Magana. Diego is inspired by California's natural beauty and love for his hometown. Diego Magana founded Meaning Nature Reserve, a nonprofit with the mission to restore nature in urban environments through growing and planting native plants. Today, Meaning Nature Reserve has restored over 45,000 square feet of land with a growing volunteer base of over 1,000 people and the network of 17 native gardens all across Ventura County.
Welcome, Diego. I'm gonna stop my share so you can start yours.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second. Technology.
I know.
Allow to share screen. Share this screen. Okay. Let's see. Present. Can y'all see this okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you for the introduction, and thank you also for giving me the opportunity to share my story and the story of the organization that I started. And I can't wait to share my story because I hope it gives people a lot of hope if they don't know exactly what they want to do right now, or maybe they're feeling like they knew what they wanted to do all along, but then something else is looking interesting because my story is kind of all over the place. Much like the hummingbird, I kind of went from flower to flower, and I think finally found my final flower, but I think I might try something new in the future as well. So it's totally okay if you don't want to settle for just one thing. Just know that if you're gonna listen to my story and take away something, take that away. Um, so basically, my story starts when I was a little kid. This is me and my sister and my two grandparents. My family is a Well, my mom came from Mexico. My dad's family had been in the US for one generation already. My mom was a farm worker, and I grew up in Oxnard, California, with many other people who had similar stories. Um, we grew up, loving nature, loving going into the park and just, playing with the ladybugs or catching butterflies. A very kind of typical childhood here in Oxnard. And like many people in Oxnard, I also went to college. I went to Oxnard College and Ventura College. This is me graduating. Can you see my cursor, by the way? I don't know
Yeah,
if you
we can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, this is me graduating Ventura College at the same time that my sister graduated UCLA. So we're kind of taking a photo shoot together. And I studied not only music, as you can see down here, that was like my passion ever since I was a little kid. That's what I thought I wanted to do for the rest of my life as a career. And I kind of still want to do that, but I'm acknowledging that everything has its timeline, and I'm trying to let the universe decide when my time is ready to start playing again. But I went to school for music. I got my degree in music, but I also knew that I probably wouldn't be able to sustain myself on music alone. So that's why there's this picture here on the top. Does anyone know what this is kind of representing? It's um it's a water treatment plant. Yeah, I know it's kind of a weird kind of thing to expect from me, but I'm actually a certified water treatment operator because my plan was that I was going to graduate Oxnard Ventura College with a degree in music, and then I was going to go to just work in the water treatment plant for like 5 years and save up enough money to go to school. But then what happened is I applied to Cal Arts and I got a scholarship for for like $50,000, and that actually allowed me to kind of skip all of the water treatment plants and actually just kind of live my dream for like a couple years. And I graduated Cal Arts, and this photo on the right is me graduating. But on the side, I also had, other passions. I wasn't just into music and water treatment. Uh, no, I think if I really had to pinpoint a singular moment in my life where I just really decided that nature was going to be my thing, it was when my sister insisted that we were going to take a trip to the Grand Canyon. My family had never gone camping before. We had always just, the only trips we did were visiting family in San Diego. But so we never had gone on like a family vacation. But when I graduated high school, when we all graduated high school, my sister said, "We are going on a family vacation." She planned it. We went to the Grand Canyon, and I was just inspired by the beauty of it. Um, and also, after that, we went to Sequoia, we went to all these national parks. But what saddened me every time is that every time I went out there to explore nature, I would come back to my city, and everywhere there would be vacant lots, empty buildings, neglected parks, neglected parkways, and it just made me kind of feel really sad. Like, is there, do we not deserve this right here? Is there not a way for us to bring this here without, I mean, because clearly, like, these plants right here in these photos are thriving, and they're not getting like extra water or uh, too many resources, right? So that kind of led me down a rabbit hole that was native plants. And so that's where the idea of Mini Nature Reserve was born. What we do is we're a nonprofit that restores nature in cities by using native plants. And when we grow native plants with the volunteers out of our community nursery, and then we plant them into all these vacant lots that we identify around town. And then from these vacant lots, when we grow the plants, we actually harvest the materials and the food, and we incorporate them into our cooking classes, which is what you see over here. We actually in this garden is called Usha'ak. It's on Deodar Avenue and A Street in Oxnard, California. It used to look like this Now it looks like this. And there's actually, if you kind of look really close, you'll find that there's these blue flowers, and these blue flowers are called chia. And then we harvest the chia when it dries, and then we make little parfaits with them. And this is kind of what I love, is the human element of these gardens. It doesn't just benefit the animals, as you see here with the caterpillars. It also benefits people. And so that was the idea, is returning nature not just to the land, but also within ourselves. And ever since then, we've just been doing this thing everywhere all across Oxnard, and it's opened a lot of doors for us. We've been doing a lot of partnerships. This one was probably one of my favorite events. You are Oxnard Young Ecologists. 2 years ago, there was another cohort of Oxnard Young Ecologists, and together we put on a native plant wreath making festival, but it was also a toy and food and clothing drive for the families of farm workers. And it was just a really special day because it combined art with native plants, and we made these beautiful wreaths. And I hope that maybe one day we'll get to do it again with Oxnard Young Ecologists. Um, so that's my story. On the screen, you can see just a bunch of ways that you can help us or get involved. We hope that one day we can also provide careers for you guys. So tell your friends about us. Tell us that we're the person that you want, the organization that you want to support. And I hope that, as again, that the main thing that you take away from this story is that you don't have to be on a one track path. It's okay to kind of meander a bit, and eventually everything will work out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diego.
Let's see, how do I
Um,
stop it?
I think on somewhere on the top there should be like a stop share. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. We have a couple questions for you if you have some time.
Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, where did it go? I had just seen, oh, there it is. How long did it take to form the program?
In some ways, I feel like we're still forming it because we're always learning, we're always trying to readjust and change things. Um, I would say that there was a solid year of planning before we did our first garden because we started in 2021, and we had to get all the documents in order, like the 501(c)(3), the all the licenses, I guess, um, to be a nonprofit, like a certified nonprofit. And then in 2022, we did our first garden. So if you want to start a nonprofit, expect to spend like a year of just getting it together, but also don't wait to do the good things. You can do stuff while you're not a nonprofit and then work towards becoming an official nonprofit at the same time.
Yeah.
What kept you motivated to continue growing the program? The fact that people love it. So we have a lot of volunteers who value it. So just to know that we're not doing this for our own selves, we're doing this for the whole community. It's just very validating.
And someone also asked, how did you get a scholarship?
Oh, so funny story. Well, I got multiple scholarships. I applied for the school because I wanted to, and I applied for their financial aid, and they also have some scholarships that I automatically qualified for.
Mhm.
But this is the funny story. There was a TikTok challenge on TikTok, and the idea was I was supposed to make a 1 minute video about what I wanted to do with my life, and what it was from Cheetos and Bad Bunny. They united to give out this scholarship, and it was $50,000 to go to the school of your choice. And so I made the video, and I talked about my dream of becoming a musician and also Mini Nature Reserve, the nonprofit I wanted to start. And they loved it, and they awarded me. I got to meet Bad Bunny for 1 minute. Yeah, it was just really fun. I can't believe that. If that didn't happen, I don't know what would have happened. Like, I don't know if I would have gone to school. I don't know if Mini Nature Reserve would have been as big as it is right now. who knows?
That's such a like crazy origin story.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I can't believe it's real. It feels fake.
Yeah. You got to meet Bad Bunny for a minute, like in person or on
Online.
that's wow, very cool.
Thank you.
Well, Diego, I had one more question too. When you said the cooking class, what has been your favorite plant or plant particle to incorporate into cooking?
Ooh, my favorite golden currants. I love golden
Mhm.
currants. They're so tart, but also sweet. They're just really satisfying, especially for the summer.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. We're gonna have to come out and do one of those classes because that sounds really, really cool.
Yes, please. Yeah, we'd love to have you guys.
Awesome. Well, Diego, thank you so much for presenting. Oh, I think we have one more question.
Oh, what's my favorite part of the programs? Um, the, the cooking classes. I really enjoy those. Yeah,
That sounds like the really fun part.
yeah, it is.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Diego. Your presentation was awesome. So hopefully we'll be seeing you around.
Thank you. All right, I gotta go prepare for a cooking class. So,
Have fun.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, Diego.
Alrighty. So our next presenter is Marzen Avala. Marzen is a queer Filipino American farmer educator with roots from the Central Valley. When not at work, you can find them roller skating at the park, working on their car, or eating out when there's food at home, as many of us do. Welcome, Marzen.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
I think I can
Let me,
stop share. There we go.
let me try to share my screen. I have a couple slides to that go along with my part.
Sure.
I'm really excited to be here though. I know we have a lot of Oye folks in the room, um and some other folks as well. So um yeah. Okay, so share screen. Here. Okay, so I should be sharing a Canva presentation. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it full screen now?
I think that
No.
now it's full screen.
Now it's
Yeah.
full screen? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, hi everyone. So again, my name is Marzan Abala. Um, I was invited to share my story as well. Just where I'm at, what my journey has looked like um in this field. So I wanted to give a context about just where my roots are from, the different jobs that I've held. Um, and yeah, I do work for SAMO right now, as a little for the future slide. I do work at SAMO, a little snippet. But it took me a lot of navigation to get to where I'm at. So this is me in the center. It's my beautiful photo of my graduation from CSUN. I am a CSUN alum. Um, and I actually did not go to school for agriculture, environmental studies. I went to school originally as a communication studies major, but then I switched into both child development and family studies. And basically, this slide is a collage of different people, different organizations, different opportunities that have really built me up to just all of the experiences that I'm blessed to have. And I'm so grateful because I wouldn't be where I'm at without a lot of these folks. Graduation was a whole journey for me, and I think that I really owe a lot to them. So, um, yes, I do come from the Central Valley, specifically the San Joaquin County area. It is a farm like hub, agriculture hub, to California, just like Oxnard, Ventura County. But I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out because the common um idea when it came to living there was that there's nothing out here. And as I started to really dive deep into what home means for me, um, there's actually a lot. There's a lot of different spaces to build community, a lot of access to fresh foods. Of course, there are a lot of barriers to that access, but I ended up moving down for college to go to CSUN, um, and did my major, wanted to be a teacher for a while, and I ended up landing a position as a garden educator, working with kids, trying to share knowledge about how to grow food, from sowing the seed, harvesting, using tools to build trellising and chicken coops and all of that stuff. So I am still working with youth, family members, community members, and it's really cool to see how my major, which wasn't directly tied into environmental studies or agriculture, I'm still able to use that today. So um, I don't know if I can can y'all see my mouse or no?
Yeah, we can.
You can? Okay, so the first kind of mentor that I've had in my career was both Matt Soto and Cedric Rivera. I think they were really integral in my programming positions that I've held in higher ed. As I was a child development major, we did do a lot of programming that promoted student success. And I think they were actually one of the reasons why I came out as a queer person. I was very straight presenting. That's who I was. And I think that was very true at the time. But I think they really showed me that I'm so much more than that. And I think just sharing our journeys, that is a big part because I think for us as individuals to feel confident to enter spaces that are new to us, we do have to have a strong foundation. And I think they were two big pillars for me to feel confident to just talk the way that I talk and not have to stress about having to filter um, myself. And that really showed um, as to why I graduated. So after that, I did move on to volunteering at Cottonwood Urban Farm, which is a LA Compost partner at the time. I think they do still partner with LA Compost, but they have different windrows piles to where they collect compost from the community. And yeah, I would volunteer there. Um, and it was really cool. That's how I first started getting into environmental work. I landed a job at Black Thumb Farm, which was an educational farm in Panorama City. We do work at different high schools within the San Fernando Valley. Um, and we provide fresh produce to our community. So if y'all are interested, make sure to check out these spaces, Cottonwood Urban Farm and Black Thumb Farm within the San Fernando Valley for opportunities to connect with some great folks. But after that, I did get a scholarship to visit different farms throughout the US, which was the next step within agriculture for me. I was able to visit the Cheyenne River reservation and farm out there for a couple months during the summer. And this is just a photo of the choke cherry, which is a native crop to the area. You can make choke cherry lemonade, choke cherry wojapi, which is like a jam for fry bread. Yeah, really cool. I haven't tried that this fruit before, but it's called a choke cherry. And then Soul Fire Farm, which is a educational farm. It's also a working farm to provide CSA boxes, food access, education opportunities to BIPOC. It's a BIPOC-centered space, but also within the Troy, Albany, upstate New York region, more specifically. So that's me taking care of some goats during that time. So yeah, those are kind of just snippets of just different spaces that I've been able to learn from. And yeah, so today, as of recently, I was a garden educator for different middle schools and high schools. These are some of my old students. We were done with our planting day, and I just love how it looks to see the soil on your hands. And there was just so much joy in the room for that. I am part of the restoration team for SAMO, like Paula and Javi mentioned. Um, this is some of the work that we do. This is part of our native seed farm at our site. And I'm going back to school. I'm going back to school. I'm taking a soil science class, animal science, taking care of some goats, and also auto mechanics. And I'm really happy to be able to go back in this point of time. Because I don't think if I started straight out of high school as an agriculture science major, it would have made sense for me. I think, again, our journeys look so different and it takes time. And this is where I ended up. And I'm able to be so much more engaged because I want to be here. So yeah, I guess my last slide, I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I just wanted to share some resources for different orgs to share, to look into. Um, these are some scholarships that I've been able to receive to get different educational opportunities like the one in South Dakota. That was through MESA. You can choose different farm partners throughout the US. If y'all are interested in that. Soul Fire Farm, they have a huge YouTube channel, Instagram page, different keynote speaker videos, um, a lot, an abundance of just educational resources. So check them out and LA Compost. So yeah, that was really fast, but I wanted to just give a run through of how I got here to where I'm at. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, want me to talk about anything more specifically, how that was, yeah.
Thank you, Merzen. Um, I had a question. So I love your journey. I think it's really awesome to get to talk about sort of the personal growth aspect of things, since I think that that's just such a integral part that we often miss. And I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit more, if you had any advice for folks who are struggling to find supportive mentors, since you mentioned like the two folks were like really integral in your becoming and your sort of entering this new phase in your life. Any advice you would have for them?
Yeah. Um, I really appreciate that question just because I think we need more conversations about finding community. I think it's easy to look at someone's story and just feel like, oh, they made it and it was really easy. But a lot of times it's not. So I think mentorship is really key as far as doing self-growth because they're honestly kind of like cheat codes. Like they already have been there. So it's kind of like they guide you in how they handled certain situations and whatever fits for you, whatever doesn't, you compost that. But I was lucky enough for them to be have met during school. But I think like just to boil it down, I think that during that time, I didn't really feel like I was excited about anything particularly, but just seeing someone that was a queer individual in like administration, that really showed me a lot of like misconceptions that I was taught that queer people can't be outspoken, that they're just supposed to be a joke, or that they um, whatever however they choose to express themselves, quote unquote, like that was just a choice, and that's not right. That's not how it's supposed to be. And when a queer person does come out, it's kind of like, oh, well, they've always been like that. But there's a lot of like, you unpack just what you need to do at the time. And they really help me guide what it looks like to be a queer student, how it looks like to give yourself rest, permission to rest, and also to let them do that work for you so that you can empower yourself to really say, you know what, like, let me just step into this new part. If it works, then it does. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't, you know? And I think like us, me, Matt, and Cedric, like really had very similar upbringing. So that was really cool to have during that time in my life. But I think to go back to your question, I could talk about that all day. Go join spaces, whether if that's a club, um, like these, if you can still see my resources page, like you'll meet a lot of really cool folks. I know it's hard to put yourself out there, but I think it's worth it. I think it's really worth it to give yourself that opportunity to receive mentorship.
I love that. And like that last part that you just said, give yourself the opportunity to receive mentorship. That's such a big part.
Mhm.
Like we definitely, I know speaking from experience, sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to be a bother or anything, but honestly, so many people are willing to help. I think that that was just so beautifully said. Thank you, Marzan. We have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's see. What's your favorite te part about being a SAMO restoration tech?
Hmm. I was actually looking at all my photos for this presentation. And it was really cool just to see the different like sites that we get to see, right? This is so close to our main office. If you can see like the sunset, like on the hills, um, I think that's my favorite part. Like yesterday, we went to Sycamore Canyon, which was really beautiful. Like this right here, I loved it. It was at a school, my garden educator position. But I think like being at SAMO, I get to see a lot more natural landscapes that are so close to the San Fernando Valley. So I think that's my favorite part.
Awesome. Yeah, I working at RSV as well. I can concur. The landscapes are just incredible.
Mhm.
What was your favorite part about working in agriculture?
Um, I think that when you see like the smiles in my face and here, um, in these photos, I didn't really used to smile like that. Um, I was always like told that, oh, you need to fix your face when you smile, or like, can you actually smile? But I think from this part of just meeting so many cool folks, as one, I think also seeing myself be reflected in the land is why I stayed. Queerness is just everywhere in our landscapes. Different variances between the same specific crop, right? You won't have a crop that looks the same. Apple varieties, there's millions and millions and millions of different types of apples. But, you know, as humans, we teach each other that there are only two, or there's only one way to be X thing. There's only one way to succeed. But I think the earth, me through agriculture, there's so many different ways to express yourself. So I think that's my favorite part. It's not just growing a crop to feed my belly. Um, it's a whole experience. So I think that's my favorite thing of agriculture.
Mm, I love that. And final question, what inspired you to go back to school?
I think imposter syndrome, if I'm being completely honest. And let's talk about that because if you see like just all of the different places that I've been to, I think it sounds really cool and I'm really proud of myself. But I think, you know, imposter syndrome will always be there because I didn't go to school for agriculture in my case. I wanted to encourage myself to go back to community college, take my classes, get my certificates in horticulture, in agriculture, animal science. Um, and I think that just to give like my classes specifically for this semester. I'm taking one about um, IPM, integrated pest management. I'm taking a goat care class. I'm taking intro to soil science. So I'm getting to use all of these different lab equipment that I don't really have access to at home. I'm getting to take care of different animals like chickens and goats. IPM, like we get to learn about um, what pests and how they attack your different crops and what like, the yellowing of leaves or certain bite marks, which I would see on the fields. And I'm able to see that in class now. So I think like it's really cool to be able to apply what I'm working in and go back to school at the same time. And I'm grateful for Samuel for actually working with our schedules because I know a lot of folks also on the team are going back to school. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much. Um,
thank you.
yeah. Do you have any last words, any final thoughts you want to share?
Um, I would say just go for it. Whatever kind of piques your interests. I think that you're never going to be fully ready, so just take chances. But above all else, this is what my mentor says. Dedicate your time to everything, but make sure that you're kind. And when you're able to give back to other people, make sure you share the knowledge that people have shared with you.
I love that.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Marzan. It's
Thank you,
been
Marlon.
an joy having you. Okay. Alrighty.
Awesome. So our next presenter is Yadira Macias. Yadira is a native um, seed technician with SAMO Fund and lead field biologist with ACOM. As a seasoned biologist and native plant enthusiast, she executes her passion by working in habitat restoration through the rehabilitation of both ecosystem function and people's hearts for the land. Her extensive background consists of experience working with California native plants, project management, and ecological restoration.
Welcome, Yadira.
See. Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, friends. How are we doing?
good, good. Not too bad. Warming up.
Let me set up real quick. I'll share my screen. Some stuff around real quick. All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So I think I'll get started real quick. So, uh, once again, thank you guys so much for having me today. Um, my name is Yadira, and I am currently, as I had mentioned, a native seed technician with SAMO Fund. But I also get to work as a lead field biologist with a private consulting company called AECOM. So, real quick, just a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in LA, more specifically the San Gabriel Valley. And as far as kind of like my higher education, right after high school, I attended Humboldt State University for 4 years. And I got my Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Science and Management with a concentration in ecological restoration. And when I was there, I also decided, you know what, I think I do want to get a minor. So I ended up pursuing a minor in watershed management. Over the past couple of years, I have been able to kind of develop some experience in federal, nonprofit, and private sectors. And some fun facts and some of my hobbies of mine. I have been drawing ever since I was 10 years old. And for a while, I thought I was going to pursue that as a career, but I ended up just kind of keeping that as more of a personal hobby for myself. So I'm a botanical illustrator. I am a former cross country and track athlete. I wish Diego was still here. I love experimenting with native plant infused recipes. And on my off time, I really love playing my bass guitar. So as I had mentioned, so this is what I do for a living. So full time, I work with SAMO Fund as a native seed technician. And some of the things that we get to do kind of day to day, dealing with seed collection, seed cleaning, different germination trials, and seed banking, which pretty much just means the storage of the seeds that we end up collecting and cleaning. As Marzan had mentioned earlier, we're in the process of producing 2 native seed farms for wildfire resiliency efforts. The one that Marzan had showed was our most recent one that is still in progress. And we also have another one that is going to be used for the wildlife crossing bridge that's happening on the 101. When we go out and we do our seed collections, we also perform botanical surveys for different plant populations that we come across in the park. Um, and then we also have been doing these pretty consistent trips where we send some of our staff over to Channel Islands National Park, and we get to help out with different ecological restoration projects that are happening out there. But right now I am taking a break from SAMO Fund, so I requested some time off because I got called to help out with these recent wildfires that happened not that long ago, to go and perform some nesting bird surveys. So with that, I'm going and my goal is to pretty much go and identify any types of birds, more specifically migratory birds that are in the area, and really just kind of see if they're nesting, because right now that we're approaching springtime and things are getting warmer, right now is a perfect time where they're getting ready to start nesting. So I'll monitor active nests on site and see if there is any active nests where I need to establish a buffer, because there's so many protocols that kind of fall into like federal laws and regulations that many contractors are not aware of. So we have to go and just kind of make sure that we're educating everybody as far as on the biological standpoint, what goes on from that. And then as team lead, I just kind of serve as a supervisor with some of my biologists that are on my team. And then just really get to network with some of the contractors that are out there to make sure that we're all kind of putting in our 2 cents to make sure that this project goes very smoothly and successfully. So this is some of the experience that I have been able to gain after I graduated in May of 2020. So I'll start from the bottom up real quick. So I worked as a Corps member with the California Conservation Corps. Mostly worked with wildfire support as far as the base camps go. So things like dispatch, helping out with supply units, dealing with proper communication. And soon after that, I ended up working with the U.S. Forest Service. Started off as an internship with the Inyo National Forest as a recreation resource assistant. And then shortly after I had finished that, I got hired as a permanent employee, serving as a lead recreation technician at the Angeles National Forest. And I ended up leaving that position because I realized that I wanted to pursue something more botanically. Um, and I loved what I was doing, but I felt like I needed that little change in my career. So I ended up taking a step back, and I was working as a native plant nursery fellow with Northeast Trees, which is a urban forestry nonprofit based out of Los Angeles. And then shortly after that had ended, I was hired to work as a native seed technician with SAMO, and I am still doing that to this day. So out of all things that we could do in this, this big world, why did I choose the environmental field? Um, for me, honestly, I feel like nature and plants was just second nature to me. Growing up, my dad and his brothers, they had a ornamental nursery that they were operating. And so I spent so much of my youth kind of really working in that. And from around the age of 8 was when my dad started really kind of like teaching me about the different plants and told me, Mija, if customers come and they ask about this plant, you tell them this is what it's called. So I realized that from that point on, it was something that I loved, but I didn't know if it was something that I was going to pursue long term. Um, and then as I got older and then I went to college and stuff, um, I really realized, specifically coming from such like an urban area like Los Angeles, I wanted to see more restoration efforts happening in these really, you know, concrete jungles essentially. And I wanted to become that bigger person at the end of the day who could bring this knowledge back into my communities and make sure that we are able to kind of bridge the gap between these underinvested or redline communities back into green spaces. Because there are still a lot of communities out there that don't have access to local parks or probably don't have access to maybe like a nice place where they could just kind of relax and be one with nature. I also wanted to pursue this career path because there's so many changes that are constantly happening. We recently had these devastating wildfires that happened, and I realized that one of the goals that I wanted to have for myself is to kind of learn what are some things that can be done to make sure that we could prevent this from the future. But apart from that, also, natural resources are really essential for life because everything is just so interconnected. And I think it's really important to make sure that we preserve these resources that are still available to us. So these are some opportunities for career advancement that I have implemented for myself, and I am still kind of implementing as I continue growing. So when I was working at the Inyo National Forest, I had actually applied through this internship program called the Resource Assistance Program. And pretty much to kind of summarize it really quickly, it's an internship program. You apply, you work for an extended amount of time, but there is a number of required hours that you have to complete. If you complete the required number of hours, they issue you a 2-year direct hire certificate. And that certificate is like a golden ticket that can be used um, for any jobs in specifically the Forest Service that you can, if you meet the qualifications, um, you kind of get direct access to it. So that's what I had did, and that was how I had gotten my permanent position working at the Angeles National Forest. So definitely it was a really, really amazing opportunity, and I met a lot of other individuals that went through the same process as well. I also took advantage of any leadership assignments or opportunities that were present. Um, for a couple of times, specifically when I was working at the Forest Service, I served as point of contact and as a liaison for multiple habitat and reforestation projects that were actively happening. Um, and even by just taking those small little roles, it really shows you and you get to learn so much, not only about yourself, but about what really happens behind doors with these really big scale projects that we don't really get to understand until we actually get to do it. So it was definitely a really big learning opportunity for myself. Advocating for participating in new opportunities, things like trainings, um, especially because there's a lot of places that you have to pay out of pocket for training. So if you could find a way where you could get those for free, um, that's a really, really good avenue to take. And suggestions that will benefit companies. The picture that I had provided, I also myself cook with native plants. And so I had hosted a couple of workshops where I was kind of teaching individuals how they could incorporate native plants into their diet. So right there, I had some individuals try, I think that was white sage tea. So gave them like a little snippet of it. And then eventually I just started kind of experimenting with like black sage agua frescas. In December, I was invited to bartend for a private donor party. And that caused this, it caught the nonprofit's attention. And a lot of people were starting to like really grow an interest in native plants because this is stuff that you don't see every day. So that definitely was something that not only was I able to grow as an individual and for my skill sets, but I got to really showcase what our nonprofit at that time had to offer. And then also just networking. I cannot emphasize it enough how important networking is, especially with any professionals that are in the career path that you would like to take. There's a lot of people as well that are not in that career path that you're probably planning on taking, um, that they're just very knowledgeable and there's skill sets that could get kind of translated either or. Um, so yeah, definitely getting to know other individuals, it's always a really good opportunity. And some suggestions and recommendations that I could provide to other individuals who are starting to grow. Um, and this does not apply necessarily to like the natural resources field. This could be for anything that you decide you want to pursue in life. Take advantage of opportunities and trainings, whether that means it's paid or unpaid. And I think many people are scared of volunteering because they feel that it doesn't serve as experience, but it 100% does matter. And that's stuff that you could always still write on your resume. So definitely would highly recommend if you can go and volunteer. Get to know people with similar career fields. Once again, the essence of networking that can lead to guidance. And then it's just really nice to be able to hear about other people's experiences and what their path was kind of like. And maybe that could also shine some light as to, how that can help you out. But also don't sell yourself short because I think sometimes, at least for somebody like myself, for a very long time, I was dealing with imposter syndrome and I felt like, I have these skill sets, but I don't think I'm doing enough. And I kind of let that mentality stay with me for a very long time. But eventually I kind of put my foot down. I said, no, you know what? I know that I'm worthy. I know that I can excel in this field. And it's just a matter of finding the people that are going to give you that opportunity to showcase what you could offer. So definitely know you are worthy of excelling. Um, and then piggybacking off of what Diego has said, career paths are not going to be parallel. Um, I think we always have this mentality as well that it's got to go like this and this and this. And I could tell you 100% it's not going to go that way. And that's 100% totally cool as well. So don't be too hard on yourself if things don't go the way you wanted to go because life isn't always going to be perfect. Um, I don't know if I went through everything quickly, but I did provide my contact information. That is my personal email. So please feel free to reach out to me there. And then I also provided my cell phone number there as well.
Thank you so much, Yadira. You have a couple questions. How long have you worked as a native seed tech, and what's your favorite part about the position?
So I have been a native C-Tech since August of 2024, so barely last summer. Um, my favorite part, let's see. Let's see. So there's two things for sure that I definitely love about the job. I think one of them was for a while I was hosting the seed cleaning events that we had with the public. So we work a lot very closely with the public. Um, And I realized that it was just a really good opportunity because a lot of people they don't really know behind the scenes of what happens with seeds. Matter of fact, I've met a lot of people that don't know that we even collect seeds. So I think it was really cool for people to come and kind of help participate in like this first step of like what goes into a restoration project. And then at the nursery, they themselves got to see the plants that are being grown from the seeds that they're cleaning. So that was definitely my favorite thing, just being able to educate people about the work that we're doing. But I also really loved going out to the Channel Islands and just kind of getting like a little mini vacation out there, and really getting to explore something that I never got to know.
Awesome. Yeah, somebody asked you if you've ever been to the Channel Islands, and what was that experience like?
So I've been twice. I went for a 4-day trip to Santa Rosa Island, and then actually spent 9 days at Santa Barbara. Our boat got kind of delayed. Um, I enjoyed both times. We do have to pack in our food for every single trip. So it's a lot of planning before you go out there. Um, I think it's nice because for both trips, after hours, I got to cook with my coworkers. So we kind of like did like a little potluck or, it was just like a really nice bonding time. And then the ecosystem out there too is really unique. So that was something that I really loved as well.
Mm, very cool. What's your favorite recipe containing native plants?
Hmm. So the black sage agua fresca for sure. I'll see if I could find the recipe and I'll put it in the chat.
Oh,
Um, That one has always been a hit. Every single time I make it, it's a really big hit. Also, like real quick, I don't know if I have time, but
Yeah, you
um, it has. So I've made it for my mom multiple times when she's sick, and every single time, I don't know if it's a placebo effect, um, because black sage is really good, like for anything with inflammation and stuff. Every single time she has had a sore throat, the next day she feels like so much better.
do.
Who knows? But I love making that. And then I've also made elderflower syrup from the actual elderflowers from it was the Mexican elderberry. And I've used that for cocktails outside of work. So yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, if you could find that recipe that you use, that'd be really, really cool. Um, and I'm interested in the bird monitoring surveys that you do. What has been like your favorite bird or like the most special bird that you've seen?
My most special. There's been a couple of raptor nests, so like red-shouldered hawks. Let me go back real quick. I included it. It's kind of small. So yesterday at the bottom right, I got a call about a mourning dove that was seen incubating. That's actually the first one I think we've seen in both fires where there's an active bird incubating. Um, so with that, we had to just stop like all work from like the construction crews, and I told them like we cannot proceed with work. It was pretty cool because I kind of observed it for about an hour just to kind of see if the behavior was confirming that it was an active nest. And yeah, I saw mom and dad switch off like twice, and I thought that was pretty cool. Actually getting to see the behavior myself versus seeing it like online. That was pretty cool.
That's dope. How did you get into environmental consulting?
I side position. So this is part-time on call, which means that they will reach out to me if they need me. And when on call, you could also like accept or deny the opportunity. It's not something that you have to do. For I started first with my background actually, what helped me was working as a native seed technician. So having a background with native plants really helped out. Because I was originally hired to do surveys, botanical surveys out in the Mojave. But that was placed on hold because of things that were happening with the new year. Um, and then with the nesting bird surveys, I have zero background with birds. So they said that it wasn't going to be difficult. There'll be training. And yeah, like within 3 days, I was already starting to memorize my birds. Um, but once again, it's a matter of just like trying not to sell yourself short. If you know that you're capable of doing something, give it a shot and see like if they will give you the opportunity to try it out.
Very dope. That's cool. Well, unless there's any other questions, or if Yadira, you have any other final comments or anything you want to say?
Um, that I could think of out of the top of my head right now. No, but if I do think of anything, I'll plop it in the chat.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and you know, those little nuggets of wisdom. I definitely relate to not selling yourself short.
Mhm.
So I think your experience is really awesome to see. Um,
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
of course, thank you. Let me share back. Okay. So our next presenter is actually our very own Javi. Javier Sandoval Garcia uses he, him, él pronouns and is currently working as a restoration field lead. He's a supervisor for the SAMO youth program here in the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. He's also one of the mentors for Oya. Javi loves introducing people to the outdoors and connecting them with nature. Welcome, Javi.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Paula. And thank you, everyone, for joining in today. And thanks so much for your participation. Yeah, keep popping in those questions in the chats, and we're happy to answer them. And also, as for specific ones for people, yeah, please type them in. Cool. So I'll get started. I have this nice one pager here. So again, Javier Salmo Garcia. My home base is Fillmore, California. I'll give a little bit more context on that. So I do have my biology degree, Bachelor's of Science from CSU Channel Islands. And I am currently, I have two roles currently. I am a restoration field lead and a SAMO youth supervisor and mentor, and also under the OYA mentors here. And yeah, so I started off with the SAMO youth program. I'll put my little plug in here. We're currently accepting applications. Follow us on Instagram at SAMO youth. Or you can ask me more questions later. I'm more than happy to talk about SAMO youth hiring stuff. But basically, what SAMO Youth is a developmental youth employment program. So I'll give you a little bit of a little snapshot here. So picture this: I was in senior year of college. Up until this point, I didn't really have any work experience or even any internship experience, and I saw an announcement for this program, and I figured, well, I need something. I'm going to graduate kind of pretty soon. I need to start building my resume and to add different things on there. So, I said, why not? I gave it a shot. I applied to the program. I got it. And honestly, that changed a lot of my perspectives of the outdoors and what even an outdoor field is like. So I'm from Fillmore and Santa Monica Mountains, more specifically Thousand Oaks area, Newbury Park, is only like 45 minutes away. And I have never in my over 20 years of life have visited the Santa Monica Mountains only because of this program. And yeah, because keep in mind, for me and my family, nature was just at home in our backyard, playing in the gardens. We had chickens, and there's a lot of different barriers. And I know we could get very deep in that, but there's different barriers that sometimes we can't always, drive out, 2-3 hours to a national park, or even sometimes drive to the beach, for example. But yeah, for me, my nature was, at home. And I was unfortunate enough that I did have a vehicle. I met all the requirements to join this program. And yeah, I got it. And honestly, it was one of the best summers of my life. So we had an introduction, kind of like what we're doing here with our different presenters here. We had an introduction to what is trail work, what is data plant restoration, nursery work, and also different nonprofits. So I visited the LA Natural History Museum for the first time, and basically we went through a little background on them and their different programs and organizations they have there. And during this whole time, I'm getting paid. So, as a college student, gotta have a little bit of money in your pocket. Yeah, and since then, that was in the summer of 2021, and I guess they liked my work enough, and basically I got hired back on as a part-time restoration technician, which is awesome. So, I was involved in thousands of plants that got in the ground all throughout the Santa Monica Mountains, right? And so fast forward a little bit to the next summer, there was an announcement to now actually be a lead or supervisor for this program. So now for being this, supervisee to the supervisor or the mentor. And I think this is basically what my next step was, continuing in this path. So yeah, I applied and I got in, and it's been great too, because not only seeing it from the both perspectives of being, first introduction to now introducing a lot of, college students and different folks into this field, into this background, is really awesome. Yeah, one of the joys, or basically what fills my cup with introducing everyone, is just, seeing everyone's smiles and faces for the first time of seeing these amazing views. For example, when we went up to like Circle X, to seeing the view of the mountain, or when we hiked down to like the waterfall to see that waterfall, and a bunch of different beautiful views throughout the mountains. But not only that, like with our people, our folks, I really love combining those two, because we coexist together. So it's awesome joining those two things. And I'll just talk a little bit about what restoration is. So restoration is not only just putting seeds in the ground, or just spreading the seeds. There's a lot of things that go into that. So a little bit of what Yadira was saying, her team does a lot of the seed collection. And now Paula, she won't get to introduce herself, but in her nursery, she actually grows the plants, and the restoration team plants the plants. And then from the planting, you got to do a lot of maintenance, watering, upkeep, and it's all really cool because we have so many projects all throughout the Santa Monica Mountains. And I'll talk more a little bit of the with Oye. So with Oye, I've helped. This is my first year actually helping mentor the program. But in the past, for the past cohorts, we have helped in the past. Introducing them, to restoration, to what is all these different things that we're doing, some herbarium stuff. But yeah, it's all been pretty cool, and I guess that this is where I am currently. So I can say this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm still learning, still exploring different things, and I guess I'm still really open-minded to different opportunities. So, and I guess that's one piece of advice too. Like, if an opportunity does come up, take it, try it out. If you want to try this new tool, yeah, give it a shot, try it out. If you want to, go hike the longer way to explore more plants, go hike the longer way. So yeah, if I want to leave y'all with some advice, yeah, try these different opportunities, give some things a shot, because why not? Cool. So I will take any questions. Okay, when is the submission deadline for the SAMO Youth application? So the deadline is April 13th. And to best find the flyer or our announcement is either on Instagram at SAMO Youth or on the SAMO Fund website. So just a couple requirements for this program. You got to be ages 18 to 25, either a current college student, recent high school graduate, or a recent college graduate. And you do have to have some reliable transportation, because we could either be at Ranch Service, or sometimes we could be at Cheeseboro or Paramount, or we have to meet in Ventura. So we meet in different locations. Another question: how long did you study for your bachelor's degree? Yeah, so I went to school right after high school. So I did 4 years. So I graduated high school in 2018. And I joined in the fall of 2018 at CSU Channel Islands. So I became a Dolphin, and I graduated in May of 2022. What made you choose this pathway? Yeah, great question. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Originally it's biology. It's just, I have broad biology. I don't have a specific emphasis or even a minor in different in anything. So it's just a broad biology degree. And that's part of the reason, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Whether with just a biology, you could go either like, medical, vet, or outdoors, or I'm sure there's another one. But yeah, I went the outdoor route. And yeah, I want to say thanks to this program. It kind of helped guide me and open my eyes to different paths and careers that are in the outdoors. Another question here: what is something that has impacted you in your career? Ooh, it's a good question. Impacted. Well, I guess I do want to say we're a nonprofit, and oftentimes funding is an issue, or it could be a barrier, just because it's great, driving an hour, 2 hours to go to our work site. But what if we have to pay, $40, $50 in gas? Sometimes it's not always feasible or functional to do that. Or even like, because I know in my position when I was in school, I wouldn't have afforded doing an internship for free, for 8 weeks. So that's probably the thing. The money thing does go hand in hand with also the experience and getting, actual work and field work done. But I do want to say money is one of the big things in this type of field, because oftentimes it's not always brought up. But, we want to be, transparent, and also, I do want to say that I love what I do, but also it's important that we do get compensated properly for that as well.
I agree.
Let's see, is there another? question. How different would you say that experiences of being a SAMO youth crew member are to that of being a supervisor? Ooh, that's a really good question. Yeah, so as a SAMO youth crew member, or I guess I'll start as a supervisor. So as a supervisor side, there's lots of different things you have to take into account. So for example, planning. There is so much planning that goes into place. And I want to say that's one of the bigger ones because we want to have everything laid out so it's as smooth and basically the best experience for the participants or the crew members. That's one of the bigger ones. Different, and with planning goes ties in, talking to different leads in different divisions, talking to different nonprofits, talking to different program managers. So that goes hand in hand with, our communication and, different networking skills with that. But also, now as a crew member, it's all should be there. When I first started, the first day I didn't really know what to expect, and as the weeks going on, and it went a little smoother, and the rhythm was there, and basically our routine was there. But as a supervisor, you always have to keep in mind, how are my folks doing? Is everyone drinking water? Is everyone being safe? Where is everyone? Did a couple of folks go chase the coyote over here? Or did you go chase the bear over there? But basically, yeah, you are super alert. You got to be more aware of not only your crew but also yourself and my co-supervisors in that case. Let's see, is there more
You have one more.
questions? Okay, one more. What is your most challenging restoration project? Ooh, I want to say the most challenging restoration project is tackling all these weeds. So, as all these rains are raining or wetting our hills, and all the sun is sunning, weeds just pop up and they come up. And with that, a lot of weeds are in our restoration sites. So we do a lot of, hand weeding, different mechanical and different types of ways that we do remove these weeds. So I do want to say weeding is one of the bigger ones that is always constant. So in order just to keep our plants alive and healthy, and yeah, and keep them going.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Javi, for sharing your journey. It's kind of like
Cool. So now our next presenter is our very own Paula. Paula is currently working as the assistant nursery manager at Rancho Vista's native plant nursery with the Santa Monica Mountains Fund. She's also one of the mentors for the OYA program. Paula is interested in mycology, bioremediation, and botany, and hopes to pursue a graduate degree in one of these fields. The floor is all yours, Paula.
Thank you, Javi. I know it's a little strange to kind of do this little presentation because we're hosting it, but I also want to share my little one pager that I have here. So I'll take it way back. I was originally born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and I migrated to the country when I was about 7 years old, alongside my family. And when I was in Mexico, like I lived in kind of like a small town, so really like nature was a constant. It was never really like you didn't really have to look for it in the same way that you do here. I learned once I migrated, right? Like my mom would always take us to the beaches. We would go, just kind of hillsides were always in your peripheral. Like it was something that was integrated into your life without really knowing it, without really paying too much attention to it. And when I migrated here, the circumstances changed a bit. My being immigrants, my family had to work really, really hard to sustain ourselves. So going on outdoor trips wasn't really a possibility anymore because it wasn't here, it was different, right? Where the most accessible thing you had was a park. And even then, it's just really a flat piece of grass, right? You personally, it wasn't until I was kind of already in high school that I started to go hiking and I started to explore the mountains and I started to really understand what nature meant to me and what was possible. So I started going hiking in high school because of my brother, funny enough. So he was in, he was all camping and wanting to go outdoors. And I think at that time in my life, I was like, I wasn't sold on it just yet. I loved nature, but I wasn't sure about going. And I went with him, and oh my God, the first time I went hiking with him and his friend, I swear I almost passed out. I His hiking is so different than my hiking, and like to this day, we don't really go hiking together because I'm like, I don't, homie, whatever you're doing is not what I want to be doing. So I think with that kind of first experience is it kind of got in my head of like, okay, well maybe this isn't something that I should be doing because I can't. And I really kind of got that imposter syndrome about being outside and being able to do the things that I wanted to do. And eventually I got more experience, and my brother and I went camping, and that was like really what solidified my love for being outside. I loved sleeping in a tent on a hard floor and waking up to birds and all these awesome things. Once I kind of was like, okay, I want to be outdoors. I'd already graduated high school, and I think I was really figuring out what I wanted to do because I went to Cal State Northridge, same as Marzan, and go Matadors. And I went in as a computer science major, but I think I enjoyed programming, but I don't think it was really something that called me and fulfilled me in the ways that I wanted. Because I was really looking at, okay, well, what kind of life do I want to have? What kind of things do I want to do? And really it was just I didn't want to be in an office all day. I didn't want to have to be in a cubicle, staring at my computer and just spending my whole life like that. So once I realized that that wasn't really what I wanted for myself, I started to look, okay, well, what options are there? I was kind of undecided for a long time, and I actually switched my major in my third year of college, which was, usually you do 4 years of university and you switch in the third year. That kind of already put me back a little bit. But I didn't really mind because I really loved college. Um, Being at CSUN really gave me such a wide opportunity to get involved in a lot of different things. I was involved in the what's a Dream Center, so that's our resource center for undocumented students. And being undocumented myself, that was like my key connection that I had to my campus. And I was a president for one of our other orgs that helped undocumented students as well. I was a part of new student orientation. I was a part of a bunch of different clubs that kind of helped me feel like I belonged on campus, helped me find community. And yeah, eventually I changed my major to ecology and evolutionary biology, which is always a mouthful. Even on my SAJ, my SAJ has like there's 3 lines that have to for my major. Um, and I honestly loved it. I've always been a fan of science. When I remember when I was in elementary school, my my elementary school teacher would be putting just the owl pellets and digging through it, and everybody was like, "Ew!" And I was like, "Yes, I love this so much." And through my Eco-Evo degree, I got to experience a lot of really cool things. I got to hold snakes, which honestly, I'm a little afraid of snakes. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was really, really cool. I got to make an insect collection right here for my entomology class, and I still have that. It's one of my prized possessions, to be honest with you. Um, and I also got to do an internship with community nature connection. So kind of in between me trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I saw the internship at CNC, and I was like, okay, let's try it out. I wanted to see if this was really what I wanted to do. So I applied and I got the internship, and I actually got placed at RSV, Rancho Sierra Vista. So I worked really closely. Woo, woo, I worked really, oh, the light just turned off. I worked really closely with the Santa Monica Mountains Fund and just a lot of people at RSV at the National Park Service. And that was like my first yes. Like that confirmed it for me that I wanted to be in this field and that there was just such amazing people that I met and they were all really, really supportive. And it was really it was kind of a trip to find your people and start geeking out about native plants and you know saying some things that like I would say with friends that aren't in the native plant world that they're just like, oh, I guess that's cool, but like I was like, no, you don't understand. And having people that felt that same passion that I did was really exhilarating for me. And then throughout the years, I did two internships with the LA Zoo. This one right here was the first internship I did where I did some research at the zoo and developed a poster, presented it, all of that. So that those experiences have also been incredible, and I gained so much from them that I still carry with me to this day. And today I'm at the assistant nursery manager at RSV. So this is a picture of I took I think yesterday actually. We have some seed trays right here that for our upcoming planting season. And I mean, it's hard not to love where you work, right? Like even from this tiny picture, you can already see like hillsides, you can see the trees, and it's such a special place to be at. And I'm also one of the Oya mentors. This is us on the first day, taught me ranting about herbariums. I love herbariums. That's here. I'm holding an herbarium press right here. It's I hate lugging the thing around, but I love it so much simultaneously. So that's kind of the quick gist of my general trajectory and story. If anybody has any questions. What is a big challenge? What is a big challenge you've had to overcome in your career? Ooh, I would say the one of the biggest challenges for me was and I feel like this is probably a common one, right? But like the feeling of belonging. And for me, it was because I felt like I struggled a lot with feeling like I could physically do the job. I think I see a lot of people that I work with are really, really like they're avid hikers, or when I would go seed collecting, when I would go try to take plant samples, everybody would be like so up ahead and I'm like back there dying. I'm like, oh my God, is this how I'm gonna go? Like, are we gonna have to call the ambulance right now? Like, what's happening? Um, and I think that for a long time that was like I took that as a, oh, I shouldn't be in this field then if I can't hike the way that others do, or if I can't, lift 50, 60 pounds really, then I shouldn't be here. But I think over the years I've really just been like, okay, well, it's something that I want to do, so it's something that I work at. I A lot of it is challenge by choice. Sometimes I look at a mountain and I'm like, you look terrible, but I'm gonna climb you, and that sort of building of more than anything that mental resilience of knowing that you can do hard things and knowing you can push yourself and you can succeed, and even in the moments that you don't, that it's okay and that you can try again. That's been like some of the hardest things that I've had to kind of overcome. Um, what what's the most rewarding part about working at the nursery? Oh, there's a lot of really cool ones. I think right now I'm really, really enjoying seeding the all of our seed, or growing our seed, because you know that things are alive, right? Seed is alive, these things, but sometimes you don't, it like doesn't really click in your brain until you see it, right? You sow it and then you're watering it, you're taking care of it. And then you start to see the little seedling pop up. And I have pictures of some of them that are literally like pushing up the little layer of dirt, which is crazy to me that like this little thing kind of transforms and morphs, and it's just such a beautiful journey to me to see from seed to plant and eventually out into the field. I think like that's just I think it's really, really special and it's not something that everybody gets to see. So I feel very, very fortunate to be able to do that. My favorite herbarium sample, I think it's gonna have to be the one that I first collected. When I was an intern, uh, Tech Chipman took us out. He took us to, oh my God, I don't remember where it was, but he took me and or the two other interns to go collect some herbarium samples. And oh my God, I took a Cyanothus spinosus sample, which is Cyanothus is a California lilac, and it was the most amazing thing ever because the that plant has a lot of thorns growing out of it. So when I was trying to collect it, it was like scratching my hand, and I was, it was such a fun experience for me to kind of struggle a little bit. Um, and I took the sample and I was like, this is incredible. I pressed it, I did the whole thing. I when we got back and it was dried and all that, I mounted it, and that was my very, very first herbarium sample. And I loved the entire process. So I think that one is the one that's my favorite. My favorite part about working with SAMO. I think I really love working with and for SAMO because I get to do stuff like this. Like, I think the freedom that I have to work on different projects is really, really rewarding because I love to do different things. So getting to work with Oye, getting to put on this symposium, um, it's not something that I feel like is common for a lot of orgs to kind of to trust you enough to be like, do it. You got it, and there's a lot of really awesome people that helped advertise it and help put this on and helped me along the way. And it's it's really rewarding when you have a company that supports you and believes in you, that you can kind of continue growing in any way that you want, right? If I'm ever like, hey, I want this skill or I need this skill, can you help me get it or can I get it? And as long as it aligns with, with our projects and all of that, then they're like, yeah, go for it. Um, yeah, so that's one of my favorites. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I think we'll move on. Oh, finally, the light turned back on. Wait, okay, okay, nope. There we go. Alrighty, so our next presenter is Ariel Wilson. Ariel grew up in Austin, Texas with a mom and a dad who loved to garden and spent most of their free time outside. They instilled in her a love and deep appreciation for the outdoors from a very young age. After moving to California to attend college, she fell in love with the ecosystem and landscapes here and decided to study sustainable solutions that could help mitigate climate change. Welcome, Ariel.
Thanks, Paula. I am so bad with Zoom, so it's gonna take me a minute to find the. Okay. Did that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. My name's Ariel. I grew up, like Paula said, in Austin, Texas, and I moved to California about 5 years ago to go to school here. But growing up, I tried to be on the lake as much as possible, and my parents really loved gardening. My mom, like, after she retired, became a master gardener, so they're just like always outside. So they're the ones that kind of really got me into plants. And then Austin is just like a really beautiful city, has a lot of green spaces. The third picture there is a green belt. It's like at the big creek in Austin. So I just grew up like hiking with my friends there. But then when I got to California, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole nother world. There's like actual mountains here. There's only hills in Austin. So this is a picture of Yosemite over here. Um, so basically, I just grew up in the outdoors, super active, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do before I went to college. I knew I wanted to be active, but I didn't think I was going to be doing anything with sustainability or the environment. So I came into school at Pepperdine, initially I was a political science major, and then I took a class that was called environmental policy, and that's where kind of like everything shifted for me. Um, I also watched a documentary called Dominion. I do not recommend it. It just was like, it's a really intense documentary, but this is like a big turning point in my life. But I don't recommend it. It's a PETA documentary, but it basically just documented like a bunch of the conditions in slaughterhouses, and just like kind of the whole world of like meat and dairy. So it just took this one movie for me. And after that, I went vegan. So after that is when I like really started to get more involved in sustainability. So I got to Pepperdine. I decided to switch from political science to sustainability, but our program was very new. There was only one graduating class before us, so it was kind of like we were still kind of the guinea pigs, so to speak. So it was really interesting just being a part of like the development of the program and everything. But the program focused a lot on like sustainable food systems. We studied a lot about composting, distribution of food, different things like that. So my main passion or interest became like regenerative agriculture, different things like that. And there are a lot of opportunities around the area. There's like Zuma orchards and then apricot lane farm. So those are always places that I had in the back of my mind. Um, and then we also studied a lot about climate migration. This was something super important to me. I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, and especially at Pepperdine, um, there's like a very white demographic that tends to kind of avoid issues outside of the United States. Honestly, the administration doesn't even acknowledge that climate change is a real thing. So it was a very, very interesting experience. And I feel like knowing that the administration was so I don't know what the best word is, but um I guess avoidant of like the issues at hand made me more passionate about it. So I feel like through that I learned how to kind of speak up a little bit more. I've always been a little bit on the reserve side and kind of like, oh, I don't ever want to like upset anybody. But when I was at Pepperdine, I did get into a lot of arguments with our president. So that was really fun for me, kind of just like getting out of my shell. But that was what I studied mainly. And then while I was at school, I also did an internship with SAMO Fund. So I started working in the native plant nursery with Antonio. Excuse me. I met Paola there too. So it was really cool. I honestly learned more during my time at the nursery than I learned in all of my years of school. I think it's really important to get the hands-on experience with something you're passionate about. Um, just because that's where you like really know, like Bella's saying, like clicks for you, like, oh, this is actually what I want to be doing. Like you can study it all you want in a textbook, but it's so different just to be like completely enveloped in like the outdoors. And I learned a lot about native plants while I was there. So it was just a really incredible experience working there. And then after I did an internship, they let me stay on to do stuff with the monarch and milkweed projects. So we got to do a lot of seed collecting in like Malibu Creek and different areas of the Santa Monica Mountains. We did a lot of tabling, so just like outreach around the community. We did a lot of events where we had like hundreds of milkweed plants that we distributed to the community. So it was just a really awesome experience being able to meet new people that were in the field. I feel like it's such a small field that everyone kind of knows each other or knows of each other. So it's especially really cool to see like what everyone is doing. Like afterwards. I think this was like 3 years ago, maybe. Um, so yeah, it's just really neat to see where everyone is ending up. And um, like I said, I definitely learned more during this experience than I did in all of school. So I guess if I had any advice, it would be just like branch out to any opportunities that you can, because you never know like what you're gonna learn while working somewhere else. I never thought that I would end up like working in a nursery setting or like working in the field, but it turns out like that's what I want to be doing. So it was really, really helpful to just, I went online and started looking at any internships that were in the area. And this was like my sophomore year of college. So I would recommend just like exploring early. You can find something out of the blue. I think I was like at an airport really late at night and I was like, oh, Santa Monica Mountains, different opportunities. And then I found the internship. So um, everything just kind of lined up really well. Um, and I was super fortunate to be able to work there. Um, and then went through college. After that, I ended up working. This is where I currently work with the California Climate Action Corps. Um, so through them, I work at the host site called the Malibu Foundation. So we focus on urban greening in different areas. We did a lot of projects in Santa Monica, but with the fires, it kind of got a little bit complicated. So now we're trying to do more projects like closer to the Malibu side of things, but what we'd really like to do is go into areas like Van Nuys or close to ELAC, different centers like that, with the goal of putting more trees in areas with like high urban heat island effects, different things like that. So that's been really interesting. It's been a very different experience from SAMO Fund. I think Santa Monica Mountains Fund is like a very organized nonprofit, whereas this one, not as organized. But I think any work experience is going to teach you something. Um, so even if it's not particularly like the best experience or like the most coherent, cohesive experience. I've definitely learned a lot about like what I want to be doing after this or what I don't want to be doing after this. So this is a fellowship through AmeriCorps. So my contract ends in August. So right now I'm just kind of looking for different work opportunities outside of the California Climate Action Corps. I know things are like very unprecedented right now and like very kind of unknown. And I would imagine that like being a young person, I don't know, are most of you guys in high school? Is this a high school?
Yeah, we have our high school group here.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I can't imagine like what it would feel like before going into like your future after high school with the current administration. I would imagine it's like really scary and confusing. There's like so many moving parts, a lot of things changing in the government. But California Climate Action Corps is a great opportunity kind of to explore a bunch of different fields. There's like urban greening positions, food waste recovery, wildfire resiliency. Um, so the Climate Action Corps is definitely something that I would recommend checking out if that's something that you're interested in. Um, I did work at a rock climbing gym for like the longest time before that. So I think it's also really important before you like start your career, just do like whatever brings you joy. I worked at the climbing gym for like 3 years and it was like some of the best moments of my life there. So um, I would recommend just like taking a breath after high school, like really finding out what brings you joy, what you're passionate about. And then like if you don't figure it out, that's totally okay too. Like I switched my major 3 times. It was like political science, then psychology, then finally sustainability. So I would say like it's never linear, and especially in a time like this, um, I think if you just like give yourself some grace, let yourself figure out different pathways, explore different things, um, then it makes it a lot easier. I think when I was going from high school to college and then going through college, I was very much like, oh, I have to know like exactly what I want to be doing. Like I only have 4 years to figure out what I'm gonna do, and then I have to go get a job. Um, but I've learned that it doesn't really work that way. So I think if I could go back and do it over, I would just have like a little bit more patience and grace with myself. And um, if I were talking to my high school version of myself, I would say like it's okay to try to explore a bunch of different things. That's literally the only way you can find out what you do like and don't like. And then just try things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone. Like if you didn't think you would end up working for a nonprofit, you could always like dip your toes in what that looks like, um, or different things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much my pathway to where I am at now. Currently, I'm looking for different jobs for when the term is over. Still have a couple of months for that, but yeah, like I said, things are so kind of unprecedented right now, and like unknown, I think for a lot of people in our field. So I'm really curious to see how that will go. The good thing about the Climate Action Corps is you can apply again and be a fellow for another term. So hopefully these programs can keep getting funding and we can keep having opportunities to do this. But if anyone has like questions about the California Climate Action Corps, please feel free to reach out. I think it's a really good program, and there's a lot of opportunities to do, they call it like professional development. So you can do like hazardous waste trainings or learn a lot of things about wildfire resiliency or different things like that. And they give you an education stipend at the end of your term. So that if you did want to continue going to more school, if you wanted to go into like a master's program or get like a naturalist certification, you can use your stipend and apply it to that. So I think there are a lot of really great opportunities that come through it. So if anybody has questions, I would be happy to answer about that or about anything else. But that's my life.
Thank you, Ariel. You have a question here. What skills or qualities are most important for success in your career?
Um, I think, yeah, definitely patience, especially because like we're we're trying to halt, stop, mitigate something that's been happening for hundreds of years. Like huge corporations are mostly responsible for climate change, and like I think as individuals we have a lot of power, but it's going to take a lot of patience and um, grace to be able to kind of understand that we can do as much as we possibly can as individuals, but like real change is going to happen at a more like corporate level. And just with anything like finding a job or if you're doing field work, like hiking's really hard, being outside is hard and it's hot out there. So I think just being patient everywhere in life, being patient when you're figuring out like what it is you actually want to be doing. I think patience goes a really long way when you get into your career or in school.
Mm, I definitely agree. I feel like we're always so hard on ourselves and so expectant to be like, oh, we have to be the very best, and it's like the first time you've ever done it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Um, do you feel that your education prepared you for your job?
That's a really great question. And to be fully transparent, I think SAMO prepared me way more for my jobs than my university did. And I feel so fortunate that I was able to go to school. And like I love the people that I met and I had really awesome professors. But I think just because the sustainability program is so new, it could use a little bit of work. That's not to say that I like didn't learn anything because I did learn a lot, but I think specifically for my career, I learned more through the jobs that I've had than I did in school. So that's something that if I could go back I would really look a little bit more into like specific, um, I guess, areas of study in schools. Like I didn't know Pepperdine would have such a small sustainability program, but I also didn't know that I wanted to go into that when I first got to the school. So I think it's kind of tricky. Like it's hard to know what school to pick if you're like trying to find a school that matches a specific major or something like that, especially if you don't know exactly what you want to be doing. But then it becomes tricky if you end up at a school and you're like, oh, I want to be doing something that the school doesn't necessarily have like a super strong program in. Um, but like I said, I did learn a lot there, but I think Samo taught me even more.
Mm. Any more questions for Ariel? Okay.
All right, thank you. Thanks,
Thank,
guys.
thank you so much, Ariel, for presenting your journey. And let me reshare my screen. Alrighty. Oh, every time. Okay. There we go.
Awesome. So I want to give a very special and special introduction to Felipe Lepe. He was actually my first mentor in the SAMO Youth Program. So I'm really happy and honored that he's here joining us today. So Felipe Lepe, he, him, el pronouns, is a first-generation Mexican-American. He was born and raised in San Fernandino, Tatavian land, Los Angeles, and has an academic background in recreation and tourism management from California State University, Northridge. As a Southern California program coordinator for the National Forest Foundation, he works across the region to manage projects including fuel reduction, forest health, recreation improvements, and youth programming. Felipe is based out of Long Beach, California, and his biggest life passions include counter-narrative storytelling, placemaking, and spending quality time with his fiance and cats.
Welcome, Felipe. Let me stop my share so you can start.
Yeah. Hey everyone, nice to see you. I'll start by sharing my screen and we can get into it. Real quick too, how are we doing on time? Do I still have about 15 minutes? Is that still the case? And if
Yeah.
it's shorter, I'm happy to.
Yeah, around 15 minutes.
Okay, awesome. Pues miren, yeah, Javi, super nice to see you. Paola, nice to see you too. This is Oye, right? So Oye, you all have strong leaders. This is so cool that you all have such a strong foundation, but I think you're all very lucky to have leaders like this at the helm. I'm happy to share a little bit more about me and who I am and my journey, and happy to answer some questions at the end as well. But just gonna start by sharing my screen and hopefully you can see that just fine. Again, my name is Felipe Lepe. I'm a Southern California program coordinator for the National Forest Foundation. So that's a mouthful. I'll share a little bit more about what I'm doing actually on the ground. But again, I'll start with sharing some of my roots. All right, so just real quick, yeah, first generation Chicano. My parents are from Jalisco. They live out there now, Jalisco, Mexico. I went to public school. I went to LAUSD. I rode a lot of public transit growing up. I went to a lot of public libraries growing up. You know, as I got older, I started listening to public radio, and maybe that contributed to public land, right? And all my love for public land now too. So just a product of a lot of the public amenities like that, and a strong supporter of them too. So yeah, those are my parents actually, and that's my fiance. But we're actually getting married later this year. This was down in Mexico. I saw my parents just a few months ago, so it was really great to see them. Again, from that Tongva, San Fernandino area property, right? Like San Fernando Valley area, Panorama City, really. So I'm repping. I have my Van Nuys shirt on down there too. So if you've ever driven down the 405 and you've seen the big Budweiser, very close to where I grew up. That's a lot of the air I was breathing, right? That nasty air. But I think for me, growing up in LA and having a big family, so my dad is one of 7 siblings and my mom is one of 16 siblings. And we got everything from like Salinas, California, right down to Oxnard. down to TJ, from Inglewood to East Los. And I think I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles and a lot of time in Southern California. So I think for me, growing up with that big family was always something really wonderful, something I still strive for these days too, because we've all branched out and kind of done. And so I really look for community everywhere that I go to, right? And obviously we carry all our past with us, right? So that's something that's important for me. I think for myself, the first time I saw conservation, I wasn't able to put a name to it at the time, but it was through my parents. My dad was always out in the garden. He was always doing something in the jardín, right? He had a little milpa, he had his chiles, he was watering his little cilantro, right? So he was always working and working with dirt, working with land. And even though he worked 6 days a week, right? We're a working class family, we're humble people. I think what really resonated with me was just that he had that connection always. And at the same time, right, my mom spent a lot of time inside the house and she was yelling at me too, right? Apaga las luces, like that's conservation. That's conservation right there, right? Like turn off those lights, save that energy. And so at that time when I was just younger, I couldn't picture it, but I think that conservation really was a part of like my own love and not even knowing how much of an impact that it had on me. I'll get into it a little bit further, but I want to share more about my path with you too. So I think for me, I'm going to spend a little more time talking about my time at the university level, because I think for me, in Cal State University Northridge, CSUN, was just a pivotal time in my life. Like I think that really set the trajectory for what I wanted to do, how I'm going to do it. And so I really will always encourage higher education for anybody that's even thinking about it. I know it may not be the answer for all, right? And I know there's like challenges with that too. And especially as we were talking about the circumstances of today with, yeah, everything from federal to like state, right? Like there's challenges all over. So I definitely feel fortunate to have gone to Cal State University Northridge. I went there for recreation and tourism management. One part of that program that was crucial for graduation was a internship experience. And so for myself, I actually found an organization called the SCA, the Student Conservation Association. It's very similar to maybe something like AmeriCorps or maybe something like ACE, American Conservation Experience. So I'm throwing out a lot of words here, but a lot of these programs, they're geared towards finding youth and helping them transition into professional careers, right? Getting that experience under their belt. So a lot of positions are seasonal. SCA, the position that I did was a paid internship, and they provided housing at a national park. So that's what was so crucial for me, was like, hey, this is a good chance. Even if I'm not really like making anything, like I'm not making much money necessarily, but I'm making a difference and I'm building my resume. And those were important for me being an undergrad, right? There was a question earlier too, right? About like, do you think school prepared you? And like, I think that was a really great question. And to be honest, it made me think about it. And yes and no, right? Like, I think in some of those ways you build habits for success in school, right? Like you're going there for that education. You're learning about yourself, what works for you and what you can translate. But some of the content, it's so specific to the real world. There's no possible way that any institution, any college program, any department can cover everything that you might be exposed to, especially as we're living in unprecedented times, right? Nobody could say that they've been prepared for this. So I loved my experience with SEA. And again, through that, I got my first steps into the National Park Service. After I graduated, I actually went to work for the Natural History Museum. I was there doing education work, talking about dinosaurs and saber-toothed cats for 3 years. And then I went back to CSUN for my grad school, for a grad program. And while I was there, I was actually a teaching assistant. So I was a grad assistant. So I was teaching classes for undergrads during that time. So I had a chance to explore with like the academic side of education. But then a position opened up at the Park Service through a program called Pathways. And this was geared for young folks or students, recent grads, to step into federal careers. So I guess I really share some of this to show back and forth. And look, I wish if I had that, I don't know, visual marketing, graphic design sort of like skill set, I would love to have an arrow that shows like, oh, to the right, then down, and then left, and then cross over this way. Because for each one of these, there was lots of crossover. I kept a lot of positive relationships when I was at these different orgs, and I kept those bridges with people that I had already met and made. in the environmental world, and really no matter what professional industry you choose, right? It's a pretty small world sometimes, so it's no surprise to run into people over and over again. And so think about that, remember that even as you're young and learning, right? Like you're making an impact, and people are going to see you, people are going to remember you, even years down the line. That's actually what happened with Paola. I saw her the other day at a festival. I was like, Paola, what's up? And you know, just keeping that same community alive, right? Um, with my last year with the National Park Service, when I was with the Santa Monica Mountains and doing a lot of great work with Javi, Paula, with SAMO Fund, I actually started teaching at CSUN as well. So I was teaching with the Chicana and Chicano Studies Department as well. So I had a couple of classes under my belt. But it was around that time that I also caught wind of this organization that I'm with now, the National Forest Foundation. And so then I jumped over to that nonprofit side, right? So going from like government, but already working with other nonprofits like SCA and NHM, the Natural History Museum. But I was able to step into this and really do something quite different. It was a totally different skill set. But I think going back to like my upbringing, I always think about my mom's hospitality. And my mom was just a very giving person, right? Like, hey, do you want another tortilla? Right? And I'm like, no, 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 gracias, mom. She's like, no, pues ya está calientita. Here it is, right? Like, no matter what, you're gonna get this. And so that sort of like giving back was always really important for me. And there's a famous professor at CSUN who really started like the Chicano Studies movement in the 60s. His name's Rudy Acuna. And one of the things that I remember him asking me once was, you're getting your degree. And I told him like, oh, like, what are you getting your degree in? I said, recreation and tourism management. He said, okay, you're getting your degree in that. How are you going to help the community? And I think that though that question like really resonated with me, right? Because it was like, hey, I know it's going to help, but how is it going to help? And I wasn't sure how to answer that question. And so I had a hard time figuring that out and putting it together. Because at the end of the day, I think I just wanted to continue giving back, right? I know that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I wouldn't be able to get to where I'm at without the help of mentors and others kind of supporting and guiding. And so it was really important for me to kind of do that same thing and keep giving back. So as I like played around with these two, I just want to throw out that I was keeping track of position descriptions of jobs that I really liked. So even if I couldn't apply for that one yet, I'd print out that position description and I'd actually take a highlighter, I'd circle it, and I'd look at the requirements, I'd look at the experiences needed, I looked at anything that would help make me competitive. And I think that that's what I would start gearing towards, right? Like, hey, they looks like they want to, you know, familiarization with like local flora and fauna. Like, okay, well, let me go learn about my native plants now. Let me go learn about the native birds, local birds. Is there something I can do, some certificate, something that I could put on my resume that shows that I can do this, right? That shows that I've gained those skills. So I was constantly doing that. To be honest, I'm still doing that. I still look at some positions like, wow, this one's great. I'm definitely like 15 years away from that, right? But like I'm doing the same thing that I was doing when I was younger, just now in a new stage. I think I'm probably coming up on time soon too, but just want to jump over. This is the last slide. Just to share some of the flowers, right? So kind of like roots, stems, and flowers and kind of what it's blossomed to. I've always had a personal motto, sort of a personal mission statement. I encourage you all to have a personal mission statement. Take a look at, you know, everything from your local GameStop to like SAMO Fund. Everybody has a mission statement, right? Take a look at what it might be. Some organizations even have like strategic goals to help them achieve their mission. Take a look through some of that language because I think for me, like that helped. And once I wrote those things out, I wrote down my own personal motto, and it's changed también, right? I want to say that it's shifted over the years, but for me, it didn't matter what uniform I'm wearing. It doesn't matter who I'm working for, right? I know the type of work that I want to do, and if we overlap with this opportunity with this employer at the moment, then we're going to go at it, right? We're going to go 100%. And I think that that's what really made a big difference for me too. Two other things just that I've kind of hit on already, but I think having a growth mindset, Meeting, if you haven't heard of this before, just Google search it, right? Growth mindset. There's a lot to look into there, but being comfortable in the uncomfort is important, right? Being comfortable, like not knowing exactly what's going on, but being willing to say like, look, I don't know how to do this, but I can learn how to do this and I'm going to do it, right? That mental shift and those ganas, like that's growth mentality, right? So you all have that already. It's how you've all got into where you're at, but just keep feeding that, right? Just like a plant, just keep giving it water, keep giving it sunshine, keep singing to it, and it's going to keep growing. For positive relationships too, I think this goes back to that mentorship thing. You know, you can learn something from everybody. And a mentor doesn't have to be that supervisor. It could be a colleague, right? It could be someone below you. I've learned from everybody that I've worked with at least one thing, right? There's something that's there for you that you can learn from and you can give back to with, right? You can share and give back that knowledge as well. So positive relationships go a long way. On that end too, I just wanted to share a little bit about the work that I do now because I used to be in the field a lot. I used to do a lot of education, hands-on type of work, but I'm a remote worker now. I work completely from home. And here's just a quick snapshot of some of the things that we do. So these are the Southern California forests, right? Beautiful Oxnard, boom, right here, right? The alluvial plain, the alluvial coastal plain of Oxnard. So anytime you're driving away from Oxnard, right? You're thinking about going to Vegas, you're going to LA, like you're driving like through or near a national forest. This is Los Padres up north, Angeles for Los Angeles, right? San Bernardino National Forest, and then Cleveland's down here near San Diego. So the work that we do is wide ranging. I do a lot of rec projects actually up like in some of those mountains. Here's one that we did recently where it was an old building. And if you've been north of Pasadena, or if you've ever been to Pasadena, this is only like 15, 20 minutes north of it, close to some of the fires like Eaton Fire. But we demolished an old building and we just installed, this is fresh. These photos were taken 2 weeks ago. So this was just installed. It's a brand new sort of like visitor center / information station. Brand new for the forest. So I think it's just one of those things too that it's one of the first sites that the public sees when they're driving into the Angeles. So it's just really great to welcome people in, get more information, and learn more. I was also able to seek funding. I applied for a grant. I received the funding. I was able to start a youth program on the Angeles National Forest called Field Rangers. It's a summer program along the lines of OYA, along the lines of SAMO Youth, just kind of a workforce development program to help gear people up for jobs. So I'm super happy that, yes, I wasn't on the ground out there like I used to be, but I was behind the scenes and I found the funding to make this happen, right, with the county. So again, I didn't even know the type of work that I do now existed a few years ago. And I think it's just spending that time with public land, being able to do it was great. So purchasing the restroom. So I do a lot of procurement, putting out the contract to bid. So these folks down here in the yellow shirts, those are the contractors that we had on the ground to install this restroom at a new parking lot outside of San Diego. So I had to work with the contractor. I had to purchase that building. We had to coordinate all these moving pieces and logistics. Again, I was moving that paperwork through so I can do contracts and I can do grants through the position that I'm in now and through the role that I'm in. Here's another couple cool shots, but these are a restroom. This was kind of like IKEA style or like Target style where you just have to put it together, right? The roof is there and the walls are there, but we had to drive this out like 6-7 miles into like a remote area. It was for a closed down campground that burned in a fire from 2009. But we're about to open it this summer. It's called Lightning Point Campground on the Angeles. Beautiful location. Here's that restroom done up. But it's a really great view. It's kind of high elevation, so you get good views of it. But again, like I purchased a restroom, I purchased the trash bins. There's a bear box to the right over there where you hide your food. I was able to purchase those and then work with a contractor to make sure that their scope of work includes installing with all the right specifications, all the clearances, et cetera, getting this on the ground. So again, slightly different type of work, but I didn't even know this existed. And then the very last photo that I have for you all is just more on this is much more on the fire side. So we had the Eaton Fire and Palisades Fire, but maybe you remember the Bridge Fire from September 2024, but that was near the community of like Wrightwood, near Mountain High. But Omidin, like the work that we do out there too, and a lot of what my organization does is fuel reduction type work and fuel reduction type contracts. A forest shouldn't be so thick that you can't see through the trees, right? A healthy forest has space for trees to grow, has room for sun to get in. That's years worth of fire suppression and 20th century management of forests. But what we're trying to do now, especially around key areas like communities, like utilities, electricity, and water, is we're trying to protect those areas. So we go in there and we thin the area down, right? We fuel reduce and fuel remove. So these are some of the crews that get out there on the ground and they're doing that work. And during that bridge fire, firefighters on the ground actually did note that once the fire hit the project area, it visibly slowed down and was easier for firefighters to go in and draw hand lines or draw brakes to stop that fire from reaching the community. So when I know that the work that we're doing is saving lives, that makes a huge difference to me too, right? Again, just I know it's a lot that I threw at you guys. I know it's a lot to kind of hear. But these jobs are kind of, they're happening all over. And I do want to say that there is a lot of opportunity coming down the line. Some of you may have heard from some of the state agencies where Prop 4 was recently passed. And so Prop 4 is a climate bond. All that means for you all is like over the next year to 2 to 3 years, there's going to be millions and millions of dollars coming down state agencies, not federal funding, right, from the state. So this isn't going anywhere, but going directly to climate type projects. So there is going to be a lot of work on the ground. And I think that's great for all of us here that are living here in California. Miren, I know I took up a lot of time, but thank you. I'll stop right there.
Felipe, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for your talk. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know what you do existed either. It was really, really cool to see that. Honestly, like your position is what makes recreating kind of possible, right? Like you you need facilities to be able when you go camping, when you go hiking or all these things and having somebody like you that can actually make sure that things happen and make sure that things are done well is just awesome. And I have a question for you here. Do you feel like you made a lot of connections in the environmental world?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it started with like supervisors. It started with the jumps that I made, but definitely feel like I made a lot of connections and like I'm still relying on those connections, right? I still reach out to people all the time, like, hey, have you heard about this? Do you know of that? Is it an opportunity for us to collaborate? So yeah, I'm still keeping in contact with a lot of those folks. I think what's really nice about a lot of people that go into the environmental field too, right? Is like we don't just see it as a job, right? It's not just a 9 to 5 for a lot of us. We really care about some of this work. So you can find us on the weekends, like nerding out, going to some of the same events, right? Like checking out some of the same books, listening to some of the same podcasts. And I think there is like a lot of community within that, though, man.
I definitely agree there. It's funny that you mentioned Rudy Acuña earlier because it just like reinforced that notion that it's just all such a small world. I was really into Chicano studies when I was at CSUN as well. So he's such a famous person that it's crazy that, I didn't meet you until several years later that I started to see some, but it's like weird that we have that connection and we're all connected in some way. So that's very interesting. Um, Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your career journey?
Oh yeah, thanks, Claudia. I think that so no, because I wouldn't have been here without those decisions, right? Even some of the things that I thought were not the best choice were learning opportunities, right? And like, yeah, if I could go back to a younger self now, knowing what I know now, oh man, we would have rocked it, right? Of course, I would do a ton of things different, but no regrets. I think it really helped like my journey and my growth, and I think if you take it that way, just like everywhere you go, you're gonna learn something, you're gonna grow. Kind of thinking 2, 3 steps ahead, maybe two of like, here, I'm doing this for now, but I want to do this after, right? Or like this is gonna help me be a manager at one point, or once I'm a manager, I want to be director. And once I'm a director, after that, I want to be chief, right? And just kind of like continuing to look to grow and find your footing. I don't think I would have done anything different.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Felipe, for presenting. And I know I got a lot out of your presentation, so I'm sure other folks did as well. Yeah, do you have any final words or anything you want to say before?
No, just that I had my email on there. I'm happy to drop it in the chat again. But yeah, Paola, Javi, yeah, y'all know how to reach me too. But if anybody is interested, and Ariel, I only caught the last end of your presentation too, and it looked awesome. I wish I could have been on for all of it. But yeah, if anybody wants to reach out just to talk, again, I think like this at the grassroots, when we start seeing each other, that face-to-face connection, that one-on-one, that's when things can make a difference and we can really build community. So yeah, I'm happy to be a resource for anybody if you want to reach out. And if you're down in Long Beach, holler.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Felipe.
So, gracias.
Mm, Okay. So, okay, there we go. with that, that concludes our presenters for today's symposium. We just wanted to go through a couple of little resources. So SAMO Fund is actually hiring, which is so exciting. We have a lot of positions that are open right now. We have a native plant nursery technician, which, I may be partial, right? Because that person would be working with myself and with Antonio. Please apply. We don't really require horticulture experience. It's just, a lot of things can be taught. But if you're interested, apply. We have native seed technician position. So kind of like Yadira's position. We also have a restoration internship that is open. That at the moment is unpaid, but we're working to hopefully get a stipend out to folks. There's trail crews member position that's open, as well as SAMO youth, both crew member and supervisor. So we really have a lot of opportunities for different folks at different levels. So if you're interested, feel free to scan this QR code right here, and that will take you to our webpage that has all of these job postings. And then this is actually Yadira with at our seed barn. So I just thought that was funny.
Cool. So yeah, we also have other volunteering and outdoor events. So the best place to find the most up-to-date information is our outdoor calendar, which you can find on this QR code here, or also on the website, which is samofund.org/outdoor calendar, or just scroll through the website, and you'll find different things such as bird walk at King Jilla Ranch, nature journal meetup, free plant Fridays for us. Also, I know Samo Fun hosts yoga in the mountain. I know they do a bunch of different things, which is all really cool. But yeah, you should or also like share it to friends, family. You go as a group. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Come out to the nursery, come volunteer with us. Um, and then these are just some community groups that aren't necessarily SAMO related, but they're just, kind of as Felipe was talking, right, networking, and a lot of our other presenters have brought that up, the importance of networking and making sure that you keep positive connections. The California Native Plant Society has a BIPOC group, which is just a really great way to get to know people and get to create community. Kind of centered around native plants. If you're in the San Fernando Valley area, there's the Audubon Society for the Valley. They do bird walks, I think every month or so. They have all of these ads, I guess they're called, are for Instagram. So you can look at all of these. The LA Mycological Society, they every year they put on a mushroom fair, which is so cool. I went to last year's and this year's, and it's always such a blast to get like be able to go to an event that is like so in a way hyper specific. Everybody, like, sometimes people wear like mushroom hats, and it's just such a fun and educational experience. LA Compost is also a really great resource, as well as the Wildlife Society, specifically the SoCal chapter. All of these are awesome community groups that you can join and hopefully continue building your network. With that, we want to thank you so much for listening to the symposium and listening to our presenters. We really hope that you got a lot out of it. And if you have any questions, anything that comes up that, after the symposium, you're like, oh wait, I have this question for this person. Can you put me in contact? Feel free to email myself or Javi. We put our contact information there. And yeah, that concludes our symposium for this year.